Great advisors do more than manage money. They manage expectations, emotions, and relationships. To dig into this a little bit more, I'm joined by Dr. Naomi Win of Orion. Naomi, thanks so much for joining me.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
So, big topic right now because advisors have to wear so many hats. Their role has continuously evolved, especially it feels like over the last decade, right? And many clients are looking for advice that really transcends investment returns. How can advisors ultimately position themselves as life advisors, not just that financial expert?
Candidly, I don't think they should, but I'll be careful with how I answer this question. I think, of course, financial security, material security, peace of mind, they're completely interconnected with well-being. But I think the idea that a financial advisor should expand their role to adopt that of life coach would be a little tricky for the same reason that I think if I had a therapist or a life coach, I would not want them to adopt the position of my financial expert as well. They are different skill sets, but again, that said, there is sort of a Venn diagram where things overlap. And I think the area in which they overlap is a deep understanding of their client and what their client finds meaningful. So I think rather than expanding the role, I think we look at expanding understanding of our client, and then how do we attune more directly to the client's needs and go deeper on that front, I think.
What trends are you seeing in terms of client expectations, especially from next-gen investors and diverse client segments? How could advisors meet them where they are?
I think a trend that we're seeing frequently is people want person-to-person interaction, and as you mentioned before, this idea where they have a little more of a holistic approach where the financial advisor speaks to the broader context of their life. So that would be kind of the common denominator. Of course, the way that shows up for different client segments is highly differentiated. And advisors would do well to respond to that. But of course, it's really difficult to cater to such a wide range of needs. So I think a universal is probably something that I would have advisors tend to. And a universal that I think is really coming to the foreground at the moment is how do we help clients navigate anxiety? So when they're feeling uncertain, when they're feeling nervous about the way the market's going, there's turbulence, helping them navigate that, I think it's going to be one of the best things. If they can dissipate fog for their client and it help them find their goals, they'll be better off.
You mentioned anxiety and market volatility. That's kind of been a cornerstone of our markets this year, for the first half of it at least. So how can advisors navigate those moments of anxiety when volatility does happen?
Yeah, I think they're best navigating those moments by preparing for them before they happen. On the basis that if the advisor doesn't have good rapport with their client, they're not going to get anywhere, and you can't wait until a market downturn before you really build rapport or trust. So I think having a framework to approach it before it happens is best. I think another thing there that I speak to advisors a lot about is recognizing the anxiety as legitimate. I think when market volatility happens, there's kind of ups and downs of the market. Those are mirrored by some emotional ups and downs. It can feel really disconcerting. So I think to jump straight into problem-solving mode can feel a little bit jarring for a client. So to spend some time acknowledging it is anxiety-provoking to have your material security threatened, and then work from there, explore all of the options. We find that to be psychologically calming as humans, just to simply know that we still have options. Reassess, use the tools that we have. There's a lot of technology. With Orion, we have a suite of those kinds of tools where we focus on deeper discovery so we can kind of reassess goals, realign priorities, see what matches, see what doesn't, figure out kind of a secure base for moving forward and areas where you can flex.
So from your vantage point, what's one piece of advice you'd give to advisors who want to really deepen their client engagement? There's so much access to data now, so how can they harness all of that?
I think to make sure that it's all harnessed in service of the client, and it sounds really basic and straightforward, but I think it's more complicated and nuanced. It requires really complicated interpersonal skills that require practice sometimes. I think the piece of advice I would probably give is that advisors need to know their clients on their own terms. So their understanding of the client has to be according to how the client sees themselves, what the client thinks is a meaningful life, what the client considers a success, and then use those data points to figure out how to accentuate and complement that.
Well, Naomi, I always appreciate your insights. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
For wealthmanagement.com, I'm Shannon Rossick.